Becky Wade's a great, she's a great person.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the January 24th, 2023 City Commission meeting. I call this meeting to order. Mr. Gutakis, please call the roll.
Very smart.
Commissioner Penny?
Here.
Commissioner Curry?
Here.
Commissioner Danio?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Mayor Bia?
Here. And at this time, I'll remind you all to please silence your cell phones or any electronic devices that you may have at this time. And I will ask you all to please stand for the invocation led by Commissioner Curry and continue standing afterwards for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, I come to you tonight asking you to look over this meeting and continue to have this commission work to improve this community. Lord, I'd also ask you to please put a wedge of healing over this country, Lord, as there's just been too many mass shootings again lately. There were 7 over the weekend had 100 victims or more. And Lord, we just need healing in our hearts and put comfort over everybody and let them know that you are here, Lord. You're here with us and you stay beside us. In your name I pray, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioner Curry.
Yes, sir.
I want to take a moment right now before we get into the presentation to welcome our new county councilman of the county of Volusia. And we very much appreciate you being here, and we want to welcome you here. And I want to ask if you want to come forward and say a couple words. And as you're coming forward, everybody, this is Troy Kent, our newly elected county commissioner here in District 4, and we are very much looking forward to working with you and everything that you have planned for our district here. So I'll hand the floor over to you. No timer.
Mr. Mayor and honorable commissioners, thank you very much for this opportunity, and thank you for that warm welcome, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to come tonight to introduce myself to you as your new County Council District 4 representative. I want to start my comments with, these are my comments, Troy Kent's alone. These are not the County of Volusia's comments. These are mine. A couple of my goals. Number one, I want Holly Hill to have the best relationship with the County of Volusia than you've ever had. I want to make sure that we have impactful change for our residents. Already, we've made some changes, starting with our first meeting. The meeting times at the county have been changed. They are no longer all daytime meetings, starting at 9:30 a.m. The first meeting of every month will now start at 10 a.m. The second meeting of every month will now start at 4 p.m. It's, I think, important to note, of the 16 cities in Volusia County, not one has a daytime meeting. They're all nighttime meetings. It was important to me, and I'm sure others, that anybody that has a job and works during the day can participate in their local government. So that was one of the reasons why I supported that change. But that is effective immediately. There are 2 things that I want to talk to this elected body about, and that is in a month, on February 21st, I have coming before the County Council as a discussion item, dog-friendly sections on Volusia County beaches. I am born and raised here, and I'm tired of us, the residents of Volusia County, not owning our beaches. Things were different when I was a kid. I simply want a discussion item, which I'm going to have, and my idea is that every coastal community, Ormond by the Sea, Ormond Beach, Daytona Beach Shores, Ponce Inlet, and New Smyrna will have one 100-yard section where you may bring your dog on the beach with a leash. There will be proper signage. There will be bags to pick up after your animal. If you do not follow the rules, we will have a lifeguard nearby who can call in support from Beach Patrol to remind you of those rules. I explain this to you because there's been some misinformation and people believe it's going to be the whole beach and everybody can do what they want. That's not the case. I bring that to you tonight because in a month we will be discussing it, and I know that Holly Hill does not have a beach of their own, but your constituents and your residents, they come to Ormond Beach, they go to Daytona Beach, and they go elsewhere. And if this elected body likes the way that sounds and likes that idea, I would recommend you either send a collective letter to the county council telling them that, so that they are aware of your feelings. The next thing, in 2 months, we will be discussing at the end of March, our second meeting in March, which I believe is also, it's going to be March 21st, the 21st of the month, is the price structure for vehicles on the beach. We are going to have a healthy discussion about this. It is no surprise. I am a huge advocate for local Volusia County residents, I don't care where you live, to have free access to the beach. I have heard the argument that $25 a year is not a lot to ask. Well, if it's not a lot to ask, it's not a lot to waive. But if you don't live in Volusia County, I want to increase the price that you pay to get on our beaches. I think it's a fair exchange to have that type of access. Who knows what's going to happen with that meeting? But again, I ask this elected body, if you think you all could get behind that idea, I would also recommend a letter to your county council. I want to thank this elected body and your city manager, because last night we had our first district dialogue for residents in Ormond by the Sea at Bicentennial Park. We had a great turnout. It's an open dialogue communication with my constituents and myself, and I will have them quarterly. One in Ormond by the Sea, one in Ormond Beach, one in Holly Hill, and one in Daytona Beach. And I wanted to publicly thank your manager, because on Monday, September 18th, I will have my meeting here at City Hall, Holly Hill, 5 to 6 p.m.
Say that, September,
Monday, September 18th will be the Holly Hill meeting, 5 to 6 p.m. And the next meeting will be Monday, May 15th at the library in Ormond Beach.
Is it going to be at City Hall or Seco Hall?
I think it's at Seco Hall. I'm just making myself a note to double check.
Okay.
I appreciate that. So maybe Seco Hall, I'm not sure, City Hall, but we've got some time. So I appreciate you.
you might want to hold it here based on how many people he had last night, so this can hold more people and he could use the dais to, or that to speak. So, yeah, it's better to not
I'll
sit
confirm
back.
either way.
Yeah.
Thank you. With that, Commission, I just wanted to come before you, introduce myself to you, and let you know I've left my cards with your manager so he can pass them out. I am here to help you. If there's anything that I can do at the county level to make your constituents' lives easier, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you and have a great evening.
Thank you so much, Councilman. We very much appreciate you, and we know that you got to get to another meeting right now, so we won't hold you captive, but thank you so much for coming and speaking with us. We look forward to working with you. Thank you. All right, and now we're going to move to our presentations. We have three presentations tonight. The first one I'm going to read into the record is the 2022 Employee of the Year, and that is for Ms. Oakley. Am I saying her last name right? Circelli? Circelli. And I'm going to read this into the record. She could not be here due to a prior planned vacation that I wish I was on right now. But here it is. The resolution of the City of Holly Hill recognizing Oakley Circelli as the Employee of the Year 2022. Oakley Circelli began her employment career with the City of Holly Hill as a customer service clerk on February 16, 2001. In April 2020, she was promoted to the position of payroll coordinator in the finance department. Oakley was selected by the executive staff as the 2022 Employee of the Year, and whereas throughout her years of employment with the City of Holly Hill, Oakley has been promoted to various levels within the finance department and often has filled in as the interim supervisor of utility billing. And whereas Oakley has prioritized her payroll responsibilities every day, and this year being the most challenging with the implementation of the Tyler software, Oakley worked many hours to assist with the configuration and parallel payrolls and was instrumental in the process of the payroll system going live while exhibiting patience, perseverance throughout the implementation process. And whereas Oakley is responsible for ensuring everyone is paid timely and accurately. That's really important. Through it all, Oakley maintains a positive, can-do attitude, always with a smile. She has proven to be a valuable member of the finance team and displays extraordinary integrity and generosity towards her team members, and as well as with all departments within the city. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the City Commission of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, hereby recognizes Oakley Ciricelli, Payroll Coordinator, as Employee of the Year 2022, and I will give this to our Finance Director, Ms. Susan Lincoln, to be delivered to her. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And now we will move to the 2022 Citizen / Volunteer of the Year. And before I say this, I want to thank the Vice Mayor for bringing your service to the forefront, as he was the one to put your name forward, and you actually created a lot of debate up here. We were all supportive of you, but it was a matter of citizen versus volunteer. And so this is a very special award because, to my recollection, you are the first volunteer of the year as well. So thank you, Vice Mayor, for putting his name forward. And so with that, I'm going to read this into the record. And after I'm done reading, if you would like to say anything into the microphone, you are more than welcome to. If you'd like to take a picture with the commission receiving this, we can do that as well. This is a resolution of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, recognizing Tommy Gray as the Citizen of the Year, Volunteer of the Year for 2022. Whereas the City Commission unanimously nominated Tom Gray as the 2022 Volunteer of the Year, and whereas Tom Gray has been a volunteer for the a volunteer in police service, which is our VIPS, since April 2015. He has dedicated countless hours, weeks, and months to our police department. Tommy has donated many hours of his time working with the police department and makes every effort to participate in all city events and police department events. And whereas Tom Gray is vested in providing the community a safe and visual presence while driving the volunteer police vehicle in neighborhoods, city parks, and troubled areas, and whereas due to his field knowledge, dedication, hard work, and commitment to serving the citizens of Holly Hill, Tom was recently promoted to VIP Captain. Whereas in total, Tom has always stepped up to offer his assistance in any city event or police operation. He is always helpful and friendly with all of the officers and citizens that he comes in contact with, and we are incredibly proud of his accomplishments and his respect for his position. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Commission of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, we hereby recognize Tom Gray as Citizen of the Year and Volunteer of the Year 2022. Congratulations, Tom. Would you like to say something? Yeah? Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you very much for this award. It really means a lot to me. I love the city of Holly Hill. I grew up in the city of Holly Hill, and it's a great little town, and I really, really love it here. And I appreciate everything that you've done for me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy. And let's take a picture down in front.
One, two, three.
Awesome. Congratulations. Thank you. Yeah. All right, and we also have the Corporate Citizen of the Year resolution here that, without objection, no one is here from SolarFit. So I will, with no objection, I will ask that this is entered into the record as stated. Seeing no objection, it will be entered into the public record. Now we'll move to our public comments. This is the section of our agenda where the audience is allowed to speak to the commission about anything not on our regular agenda tonight. So is there anyone? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Jim Legary, 342 Burley. Good evening. I notice in the budget that we have money for roads, and I thought perhaps this might be an occasion to. When you drive down Riverside Drive, there are 4 or 5 really serious thumps where the road has been done by Brand X. I was thinking perhaps we could, if you're not from Holly Hill and you drive through, it's not much of a welcome, is it? You know. The other thing, at the corner of 4th and Daytona, there is a lane about 20 by 20 that was neglected when the area was paved. So for 32 years, I've been driving over it, cursing. And I know for minimum amount of money, we could probably rectify that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Legary.
Say Daytona or Riverside?
Daytona and 4th.
Daytona and 4th Street.
All right, is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to the commission about anything not on our regular agenda? Seeing none, I'll close comments, and we'll move to the approval of the minutes from January 10th, 2023 workshop, January 10th, 2023 regular city commission meeting and CRA meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve the minutes from Commissioner Curry and a second from Commissioner Johnson. Is there anyone in the audience that needs to speak on the minutes? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We have nothing on our consent agenda tonight, so we'll move to our regular agenda. Number 1 is Resolution 2023-R-5. Mr. Simpson.
Resolution number 2023-R-5 by title only for first and only reading. A resolution of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, amending the fiscal year 2022-2023 annual operating budget, setting forth revenues and expenditures, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Forte, do you have an update on this?
Nope, you want to do anything? Yeah, no, nothing further. This
Okay.
is the DOT traffic enforcement grant.
Yep.
It's done basically on overtime.
Thank you very much to staff for getting this once again this year. Are there any questions on this particular resolution? All right, seeing none, we'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion for approval from Commissioner Curry and a second from Vice Mayor Penny. Any discussion needed?
I'm just glad to see this again.
Anything further? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Now we move to number 2, which is Resolution 2023-R-6. Mr. Simpson.
Resolution number 2023-R-6 by title only for first and only reading. Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Holly Hill, Volusia County, Florida, amending the adopted budget for the City of Holly Hill for the fiscal year 2022-2023, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Forte. Anything to add to this?
Nope. This is the JAG grant that we do each year.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, would anyone in the audience like to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation and I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion for approval from Commissioner Curry and a second from Commissioner Danio. Any discussion needed? Just thanks once again to staff for getting this. With that, we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Now we're moving to number 3, which is a request for lien reduction, 144 Burley Avenue. Mr. Forte.
Okay, this property is located at 144 Burley Avenue, parcel number 533721000170, and it's been in a state of disrepair and neglect since July of 2017. Code enforcement sent notice of violations to the property owner who, after not bringing the property into compliance, attended a hearing with the special master on October 15th, 2020. The special master's finding of facts and conclusion of law resulted in an order of noncompliance with 2 confirmed violations. One was for roofs and drainage, the other for sanitary nuisance. There was also a lien on the property in the amount of, although in my narrative it says $518, but it was actually paid down it's at $208.05, which is in the final summary of the fees. The violations were brought into compliance and inspected by the code officer on November 8th, 2022. I negotiated with the owner to reduce the lien down from $14,750 to a payment of $2,580.52, which would be payable no later than February 24th. This is an owner lien reduction request, so it's dropping from $14,000 to $2,270.24 is the total.
Thank you very much. Other questions for staff? All right, with this, we will open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. Mr. Penny, would you like to go 20%? Are we good?
I'm going to shut up.
I'm kidding. I'm
I'm
kidding.
going to say it.
All right, well, I will open the floor for a motion as recommended by city staff. We have a motion for approval from Commissioner Johnson and a second.
I'll second.
From Commissioner Curry. Any discussion needed? Yes, sir.
Maybe a third for Mr. Legary.
What?
That's got to be his neighbor.
Got to be his neighbor? I don't know.
It's 2 blocks down.
No, it's several
I
blocks.
thought you were
He's-
142.
No, he's 342.
Oh, 3, I'm sorry.
You don't know that by now?
I hear it, but I thought it's,
The exclusive area of Burley.
that's right. I was thinking it's right next door. You'd be happy to this, okay.
I hear it in my dreams at night. 342, 342.
342. Yeah, this is true. My
That
bad.
means he dreams about you.
Oh, God, no. Oh, God. All right, this is going somewhere I don't want it to go. All right. Any other questions? All right. Is there any further discussion? No. We have a motion and a second on the table. We will go ahead and vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. That's what I get, I guess, for trying to make a joke up here. All right. Now moving to our public hearings, number 1 is ordinance 2023-0-3054 for second reading. Mr. Simpson.
Ordinance number 2023-0-3054 by title only for second and final reading. An ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, amending the land development regulations by rezoning the parcel described in Exhibit A from MPUD Mixed Use Development District to RPUD Residential Plan Unit Development, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you very much, Mr. Simpson. You are recognized, Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. This is the second reading for this item. It basically concerns on 5.4 acres of land located on the northeast corner of Ridgewood Avenue and 3rd Street. It's a proposed development for a 120-unit multifamily non-age restricted market rate housing development. It went through the Board of Planning and Appeals on December 5th and was unanimously recommended and received a favorable recommendation from the Commission on January 10th. Staff has no changes to report other than the fact that the there's been an exhibit that has been updated as far as what the development will look like. The Commission has been made aware of that. Staff has not received any negative comments, not one from the neighborhood or from any citizens, and so staff continues to recommend approval.
Great, thank you very much. Before you go, is there any questions for staff? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Walker. I will open the floor up to the public. Is there anyone? Yes, ma'am.
Hi there, I am Heidi Heller, 460 Ridgewood Avenue in the future excellent city of Holly Hill. I'd just like to add that I did not see the update. Do apologize for not looking. I just want to reflect that I'm hoping they're able to put the bus stop, a covered bus stop in. They're not here, so they're doing whatever they're doing, but I just want the bus stop in. That's it, thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Heller. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to comment on this? Seeing none, I'll close public participation, and I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion for approval from Commissioner Johnson and a second from Commissioner Curry. We have discussion from Vice Mayor Penny.
Yeah, I think for the record, we discussed the bus enclosure with the applicant, and there's a bus stop right in front of Ace Hardware on 3rd Street, so there wouldn't be another bus stop.
Correct. Okay, any further discussion? All right, with that, we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the motion carries unanimously. Now we're moving to number 2, ordinance 2023-0-3059 for first reading. Mr. Simpson.
Ordinance number 2023-0-3059 by title only for first reading. An ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, amending Chapter 3 enforcement of the Holly Hill Code of Ordinances to provide the city with a process to abate nuisances listed in Section 26-61, special items declared a nuisance of the Holly Hill Code of Ordinances, providing for notice to the property owner, providing for collection of costs incurred, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you very much, Mr. Simpson. And now I'll turn the floor over to you, Mr. Walker.
Yes, Mayor, Commissioners, so basically, the city has a division for code enforcement, and those officers are responsible for making sure that our laws are complied with when it comes to a variety of things, such as trash, debris, the dilapidated structures, flaking and peeling paint, grass being too high, and they go out, they oftentimes will receive input from citizens, but they also go out and see that sometimes these things or circumstances occur. Also things such as doing work without permits. So they provide a very vital function and service to the city. Basically what happens now is if they see that work is being done or that there is some type of a violation, trash is accumulating, variety of things, they will go and issue a courtesy notice to the individual, letting them know, hey, this needs to be cleaned up, here is the code that you're violating, and give them a certain amount of time to clear up the violation. If they do not respond to that, then they get a notice of violation and a notice to appear before the special master. And that can lead to liens being placed on the property if the person continues to be unresponsive. However, there are very few circumstances where the city has the ability to actually go and abate a nuisance. Abate meaning that we have the ability to put an end to it. Right now, we can let folks know that they need to put an end to it, and if they don't put an end to it, we're going to put a lien on your property. But we can't go, for instance, and remove the trash from their property. This can become a problem when you have someone who is in a home, maybe they're a hoarder, they have no plans on ever leaving that property. This is homesteaded property. We're very, very limited, even with our liens, and what we can do to encourage people or force people to clean up property. And so really, the purpose of this proposed ordinance is to expand the ability of the city to abate nuisances. And in particular, nuisances that are listed in Chapter 26, Section 26-61. That would include, when we talk about abating, the ability of the city to enter onto private property and take action by removing junk, trash, debris. Now, it's not where that decision would be made by staff. So I'll give you just a quick path of how this would work. Person would get a courtesy notice, they ignore it. They get a notice of violation, they ignore it. And let's say the violation is just for an accumulation of trash, debris, junk vehicles, variety of things that really make the property a blight and a danger to people around it. Maybe there's rodents and infestation, a variety of things that make it a very, very unattractive property. So they don't pay attention to the notice, to the courtesy notice. They don't pay attention to the notice of violation. They get the notice to appear before the special master. Maybe they do show up or don't show up. The special master then enters a finding that they are in violation. Daily fines begin. Person still doesn't do anything. The fines start. We then place a lien on the property, and we've gone as far as we can go at that point, city staff. At that point, at some point, it would come before this commission to then also make a finding that the violation exists, that the person has continued to ignore the efforts of the city to clean the property up, and then you would be asked as a commission, basically, for the ability to enter onto the property and take action to abate the nuisance. So that's really, in a nutshell, what this ordinance does. So the Board of Planning and Appeals heard this proposed ordinance on January 9th. They voted 4-1 in favor of recommending the proposed ordinance. And staff recommends adoption of the ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, amending Chapter 3, Enforcement of the Holly Hill Code of Ordinances, to provide the city with a process to abate nuisances listed in Section 26-61, Special Items Declared a Nuisance, of the Holly Hill Code of Ordinances, providing for notice to the property owner, providing for collection of costs incurred, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walker. And I got to say, thank you to Mr. Simpson and to yourself for not only going through this and figuring out a solution to a complex problem, but also I listened to the Board of Planning and Appeals meeting, and you both explained it upwards, downwards, backwards, and sideways. And I have to say that, and actually, we have a problem property that I think brought this to the attention, put it in our radar. And I asked Mr. Forte for years to come up with a solution to this, and he's spoke with you all, and I think this is where this was born. And so very much was I searching for a solution, and I got to admit that when I first heard this and read it, I don't want to say I was against it, but I was hesitant, because I'm always hesitant to give more power to the government, and it's a slippery slope, especially in enforcement. But when you look at what we currently can and cannot do, and what other jurisdictions can and cannot do, this provides the teeth needed on special situations. But where I, and I'm just going to say, and I know I'm kind of debating, this will end up with a question, but the process, I want to be very clear, there is a stringent process, and very clear that this is not a staff decision. This has to come through fully and transparently in a public setting, in a public hearing, just like this, properly noticed, to the elected body, and gives a remedy to be able to help neighborhoods. For instance, I have a house in my very own neighborhood, and I can't tell you the amount of complaints from my own neighbors that I receive on a daily basis, and that particular property has gone through all of the mechanisms that we possibly can, and still has fallen through the cracks to not be able to even want to come into compliance. And I know even a personal visit from our city manager, a personal visit from our police chief to speak with her, personal visits from neighbors to offer to clean up, to do everything we possibly can, and yet still she literally has what I would term as a junkyard in her front yard. And if you haven't seen it, you can drive on Anniston and take a look. And so knowing this firsthand, I see the problem and know there is vermin and know this is a public nuisance. But just knowing that doesn't give us the ability to go and do anything about it. This, I feel, is not overreaching because of the protections put in place that will be transparent in front of our citizens and a process for that person to come before us and state their case on why they are snubbing the nose at the law, period, and doing what they're doing. So I wanted to say that first and foremost, and now I have a couple questions. And for our city attorney, my question is, and I go through the list of what we can, special items declared a nuisance, and my question is, if we go onto a property and there are things that we deem to be trash or really of no value, but it's, let's say, a car part, and in reality, it has hundreds of dollars of value that maybe we don't know. We remove that from the property. Does that property owner, is there any legality of, are we stealing it? Can they sue us and say that I had $10,000 worth of trash that I could have sold at $1 a piece? Could that come back on us at all? Or you talked about immunity earlier. Is this?
Yeah, I mean, they may try, but by the time it gets to that point, nobody can be deprived of property without due process of law. We've given them ample due process of notice and opportunity to be heard. It's gone to the special master, then it's gone to the we'll give them notice and opportunity before it comes here. And it's actually why we expanded it, because really what we're doing is we're expanding. We brought things before where a structure on the property is a public nuisance, and so we had the authority to go on and tear down a structure. Once we basically said, look, this is value, it's public nuisance, it can't be repaired. So we had that remedy, and I know the special master will authorize us staff to go on through the code special master process to mow. If you got high grass, they can authorize that. But what we didn't have is the between those two things. We can tear down the structure and we can mow, but what about the issues in between? And that's what this really addresses, and we give ample opportunity for persons to have their due process, and doing this would be a last resort. There's no way anybody can say we've done anything wrong. And then the question is, if something does have value, what do we do with it once we take it off the property? This gives us the authority to go on the property, take it and remove it. What we do with it after we remove it from the property, that's for staff to kind of determine. Whether if it's, maybe it's sold for scrap and then it offsets the cost. If there's any money left over, if any, that could be given back to the property owner. I mean, there's a process we can create. So could somebody sue or make that kind of claim? Yes. Am I really worried about it? No.
Thank you.
That's the best way to do it.
All right. Danio raised his hand first, so Commissioner Danio.
I love the idea of just, one man's treasure or one man's junk is another man's treasure type of thing. That's.
Sounds like you listened to the planning board meeting too.
No, I didn't, but I just,
That was the
I just,
discussion.
oh, is that what it was?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's, I guess that's my only concern is that, it's, when you hear some of the lawsuits that people win, it's just, I mean,
And
it blows your mind here, so. But if you're not worried about it, then I'm not worried about it.
because I just know that it's not going to be a situation where it's debatable that this is
Trash.
it's clearly a nuisance. There's going to be 2 public hearings that these people are violating our codes, and what they have is not one man's treasure. It's trash.
Is it a package deal, Scott? Is it gonna be like a multiple thing? Let's say there's, in particular, this one address has got many things. Is it like go in there with
It's clean up the
trailer?
property. Go in there with clean up the property. If somebody has a bunch of construction, demolition debris stacked around, dilapidated, broken down washing machine, whatever the case may be, we go in and clean up the property. What is a violation? We remedy the violation. That's-
There are probably 4 to 6 properties in the entire city that I think would rise to this level at some point. But in at least 2 of the most severe cases, they're because the property owner is actually conducting business from the property. They're scrappers, and they go around, and, you may be throwing out a washer and a dryer, and they'll take it, they'll bring it to their house, and then they'll try to resell it. So they're number one, operating an illegal business because they're operating a business from their residential property. And then you may have a case where you have somebody that has an illness of hoarding. Those are the ones I really feel bad for, because I do think hoarding is an illness no different than some of the other illnesses out there that most of us don't really understand. But it's the people that live next to and nearby these properties that are the ones calling and complaining and thinking the city's doing nothing when we've done all that we can and our hands are tied. And when they have liens that are beyond measure, and it's homesteaded and there's nothing we can do, the neighbors don't want to hear that. So any remedy that we did, that would be, for example, putting in a roll-off container on the property, hiring a crew potentially to remove the code violations, all that cost would be placed on a lien on the property, and those portions of a lien are not reduced. Like when we go on and mow somebody's lawn and that's part of a lien,
Actual cost.
that actual cost stays whole, so that part is never reduced.
Sell the house to recover the lien anyway, do they? Or do we?
But
die.
remember,
Some
though,
point
that's
when the
never our goal. The
No, I
lien
know,
is
I
not
know.
the goal, it's
There's a
compliance.
difference
No, I understand
between
that.
If you remember back, when Larry Bartlett was just elected as the property appraiser, went over there and met with him because this city was pushing to do the assessment for code costs cleanup. Not fines, code costs, out-of-pocket money. And the previous property appraiser wouldn't allow us to do it, but met with Larry Bartlett, we came up with a process he was comfortable with, and we have that mechanism now. So once it gets to a certain dollar amount, we can then put that on the tax bill and try to collect it as an assessment through the tax bill.
I think it's over $5,000.
1,000.
1,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh? 1,500?
You both wrong.
Consensus is.
Obviously, it wasn't written in stone.
Right. So I hear $3,000, right?
We did use that method a couple of times and recoup some money, but it would, we could do that to try to recoup the money that we put out of pocket.
Yeah. Commissioner Johnson, you have a question?
Well, the only thing that maybe I'd have is who determines the difference between whether it's junk or whether it's not? Who gets to make that decision?
You do.
Commission.
Well, initially, the special magistrate, because they got to find the violation. And then before we go on this property, it will, this process goes before the city commission to declare it a public nuisance. So this commission has to declare it a public nuisance. It's honestly a step down. I mean, if you think about what we can do now, we can go on and tear down somebody's house.
Right.
I mean, that's pretty harsh.
Right.
So that's a much harsher remedy than what we're talking about right
More
here.
importantly, I
So-
would ask, wouldn't you have to have a court order in a search warrant to go on somebody's private property for anything?
Nope, we're not searching, we're removing stuff. This is stuff that'd be outside on the property.
If you're going on their property without permission, isn't that trespassing?
That's why we get a permission from y'all.
So we could say.
It's trespass when we go on the property
Unless the city
bulldozer.
commission says it's not trespassing.
You're authorizing us to go onto the property, just like when we go on the property to tear it down. Right now, that's going on the property. But you've given us authorization through a due process.
And do the people that go on the property to do it, do they have police protection in case the people become violent or what?
Depends on the situation.
We've never done it, so we got to implement that from removing
How do
stuff.
you know when you go in somebody's backyard, they're not gonna come out and think you're a burglar with a shotgun?
They're gonna, I would assume that
Backyards
they're gonna
aren't-
know well in advance before we go there.
Backyards aren't really the problem, it's the front yards.
Well, it is if somebody calls it in and says it's a violation, something like you go.
The result would be a hearing in front of the city commission, decisions made, hopefully the property owner would be present. If not, they would be served certified mail, and they would be given a date and time, and they'd know when we're coming, so there really wouldn't be a surprise.
You know, we wouldn't just show up.
You couldn't go at night, you have to go in the daytime.
It will definitely be during the daytime.
And then what is the one on 1640, is that the one on Ridges?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
I think we looked at it a few times on Bryant on Ridges. So I have two in my district, it's really bad, one down near him and one right down from my house.
I don't think the one on Ridge is as bad.
It's pretty much parking lot.
Usually, you know, obviously, you know, there's a lot of discussion here about we go up to fining, you know, a per day fine. And obviously, if it's homestead, we can't do anything about it. But even typically non-homestead property, where you think we could go forward with a foreclosure, when you have a property that has code violations, all of a sudden now there are going to be typically numerous liens ahead of us, could be unpaid property taxes, that if we go forward and spend money on foreclosure, if we get the property, we've spent this money subject to all these other liens that either we're going to have to pay off or then subject to them taking the property. I mean, I guess if the thought was to do it just to get the property moving to someone who's ultimately going to fix it up, that's a thought. But if it's unpaid property taxes, that will eventually become, you know, somebody will become the owner of it through the unpaid tax bills. And so there are remedies that are just costly for us to try to resolve these issues and time consuming, whereas this remedy is not as costly, you know, and it gives us the avenue. And one of the things it will help us with, if we had a situation we wanted to pursue it, and I don't know where the status is, the one we were talking about, we explored, because we looked at what Seminole County did, and they went after someone under the litter law, criminally, litter. But the question was, I talked to the prosecutor, the question was, well, how do we quantify the volume or weight? I don't know where that got to, you know, because we talked about that internally with staff, that's going to be a question. And but when I talked to the prosecutor, he was like, how do we quantify that? Said in another city, they went on the property, removed everything, weighed it, then we knew, was it a misdemeanor or was it a felony, if they wanted to pursue criminal charges. I'm not saying we would pursue criminal charges once the property was cleaned up, because our primary goal is getting compliance.
Right.
So, but
they're gonna do it right, as soon as you clean it up, they're gonna start going right back in.
they could,
Give them more room to throw more drugs.
could, that's just the way this
So then
process.
you have to have something to follow up with.
If you have that, then if you think that's going to be an issue, maybe you do pursue, the city decides to pursue criminal charges.
Any other cities that's doing what we're proposing?
I think when I talked to the state attorney, the New Smyrna Beach had gone onto a property, removed everything, was able to weigh it, so they knew when they pursued the criminal charges how much volume there was.
The New Smyrna is about the only one.
I don't know, there could be others. Because there's also language in the code enforcement statute, which is also in our special magistrate ordinance, that says they can issue an order having the effect of law to compel compliance. The extent of what that authority is has never been tested in the court. Could be broad, if you think about that. I mean, you can issue any order having the effect of law to get compliance. Well, we could do about anything with that. So probably what's going to happen is, you know, when we have this type of property, the special magistrate will probably issue some type of order authorizing us to go onto the property to remove stuff. But then we won't just rely on that. We will then come back to you for another order. Because we usually get that's where we get the authorization to go on the property to mow.
Yeah, but that's probably the third step.
Yeah.
Because like Brian said, it'll go through the process of being given a courtesy notice, then a code violation. Then they'll go to the special master, and the special master will give them time to remedy, and time will go by, and we'll give them another extension, and then if it doesn't come into compliance, so this stuff, it's not going to happen in a month or two. It's going to take probably 6 months to a year by the time it comes to the commission at that point.
And rare, if ever, hopefully, because this isn't about a violation that you just have a car out that's too long.
They're extreme.
This is extreme circumstances, and I want to make that clear as well.
And if it's not extreme enough, you make that decision and you say, all right, well,
Correct.
this isn't as extreme as we think, and we don't do it.
Correct.
Now we can do absolutely nothing unless the scare tactics work. If we try to frighten them and they don't want to
What do you
they're
mean?
not
What do you mean by frightened?
Say, okay, if you don't do it, we're going to put a lien on your property.
Oh, they're lien.
You
They're already
see that?
lien.
We already have liens.
So,
That ain't
You
working.
don't really do anything, you just threaten them to do it.
No, we
No, we put, there's
We put
liens on the
liens.
property, we just can't do anything with
If
them.
they're homestead and they're never going to move off of it,
Yeah, they don't care.
they're not going to do anything. So
Exactly.
they can do nothing.
Right. That's right.
Yep,
They
pretty
just
much.
keep on piling up and laugh at us.
That's right.
And that's what's happening, yes. So are there further questions for staff? All right, at this time, we will open this up. Actually, before I do that, I do have a question for staff. It's for you, Brian. Section 26-61, which is the section we're referring to, that's already in our code of ordinances, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And my question was, I read through that, and I just want to make sure that we don't have to be more specific. And for instance, I thought of one that's not in there, which is car parts.
We already have the ability to remove cars that are inoperable
Okay.
and that are not properly registered and tagged. Some of those vehicles that we remove are the equivalent of parts. They're missing engines or doors.
So it would fall under that.
So we already we have the ability to abate that. We have the ability to abate dilapidated structures. There are things that we have abated. I think we've abated once or twice here in the city, and that is pools that are left open, although it's not specifically listed, but it is in most cities, and it is a danger. It is a public danger for children. So really, the issue of cars and parts and that type of thing is in general already addressed.
Falls under it. Okay, so we don't need to update section 2661, in your opinion?
I don't think we need to at this time.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's my question. All right, with that, now we'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the commission on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public comment, and I will open the floor for a motion of approval.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion for approval from Commissioner Curry and a second from Commissioner Johnson. Now I'll open up discussion. Would you like any
I
discussion?
don't have anything.
Discussion? Yes, sir.
Brian, I just had two quick questions. So we're 12, 18 months down the road, it comes to the commission. It comes to the commission twice, correct? Just as a condemnation,
This would come to you once.
just once?
Right, so it would go to first the special master. The special master would declare it a nuisance. She would then assess daily fines, and she would give them a certain amount of time to clean up the property or to remedy, abate the nuisance. If it were not, daily fines would then begin, and then we would eventually put a lien on the property, and time would go by. Typically, the city manager likes to wait until the liens get to be a certain amount, not where they're just $2,000, $3,000, but maybe a few tens of thousands of dollars, before we really move forward on anything like foreclosure or taking any further steps. So the lien would then accumulate, and it would become obvious that these folks are not going to do anything. At that point, they would be noticed, and it would come before you.
Okay. And then one other question, Mayor alluded to the section 2661. It talks about the removal of carcasses and dead animals and stuff like that. I'm just thinking, if someone had a pig farm in their yard and it was in violation, and do we have the ability to remove living animals?
We were going to do it with the horse.
Right, that was my question, but do we need to put it in this area?
It's so few and far between. I mean,
Yeah, well, there are no pig farms left anymore.
I know, but I'm just saying, someone gets 2 pot-belly pigs and all of a sudden they have 7 pot-belly pigs and they're living in the front yard and they stink and your neighbor hates it and goes to, sue me. You know, I love my little 7 pigs. I don't know, I was thinking of chickens and all that kind of stuff and I don't, maybe I'm making too much of it, but if we're changing it, if you just put remove, and when it says removal of carcasses of animals or fowl not disposed, living or dead, I don't know, if you put something in there. I just don't want to have to go through this whole, like, we had to do a special thing with the horse. If we had this and it said removal of animals.
The horse was different because that was being requested under a
ADA.
needs or something.
Okay.
ADA special needs, where if somebody has a pot-bellied pig or something of that nature, or other types of farm animals, that's already a violation of our ordinance, and we would go through that process.
But could we, I think there's people that have goats in their yards.
What?
Could you remove them?
I would do my best to avoid that, because once you remove a live animal, now you're responsible for its care.
Okay.
And I don't want to take responsibility for the care of that. That's why the horse issue was really pushed down to the wire, and didn't.
Okay, all right, never mind.
But,
Thanks.
no, it's a valid question, Vice Mayor, and I think the answer would be that it would fall under this. It's a code violation. You can't have that on your property. You can't have 20 pigs, and so if they were found and they didn't want to get rid of them, then we would either have the situation, the horse came because of the ADA question, and then we said that we would forcibly remove the horse, but I think that this would fall under this. I mean, how would that not?
Well, the vice mayor is correct in that it is not listed as one of the nuisances in 26-61. Those are very specifically listed. So if you do want the ability to go and abate other things where we have the ability to go on the property, then yes, we should add them.
I'm kind of thinking like,
You know,
puppy mills. I think you're allowed to have 4 animals in our city, and if someone had a puppy mill and had 50 dogs there, it's violating a code, but we're trying to figure out how to correct that code for the neighbor. And other than just slapping fines on them, and if we're gonna go on and remove a rusting tractor and 50 yards of debris, shouldn't we be able to go on and get rid of those dogs too?
our animal control officer already has some ability to go on and remove animals that are endangered and take them to Halifax and
Okay.
to be cared for in that regard.
distress.
Right.
I'm just thinking, what if you're breeding and you have 50 dogs in the side yard and it smelled like
Dog.
dog all the time?
But then I think, though, we're getting away from what this was intended, and I think if we do have that problem, it will be few and far between, just like the horse. And I think that we then can take that up separately, as opposed to maybe just opening it up too much.
I mean,
I really don't want to get into the business of confiscating.
I don't want to get in that business, but I'm just thinking, if we're trying to figure out how to correct some of these egregious situations, and I'm thinking, wow, it kind of would stink living next to someone that had a scrap yard in their backyard,
Yeah.
the rats and all that stuff, but it would also stink, literally, to live next door to someone that
Pig farm.
had a pig farm. So, we'll take it up later, sorry.
Okay, all right, sounds good. We do have a motion and a second on the floor. The floor is still open for discussion. Any more discussion? All right, we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Walker. Now we're moving to number 3, Rick Majiri, applicant requests preliminary plat final engineering approval for 134 lot subdivision called The Vineyards. Mr. Walker.
Yes, Commission, Mayor, I won't spend a lot of time on this because this is something that you've already seen now at least twice. This is the property on 6th Street. It's a 14-acre parcel that they're proposing 134 lots for 2-story townhomes. Just as a quick refresher, it will be 13.21 dwelling units per net acre. The lot size, minimum lot size for the townhome is 1,800 square feet. The minimum size for the townhome is 1,060 square feet, and the maximum building height is 30 feet. The project has gone through review here at the city. The city has approved the final engineering plans and the layout for this development. They have received all required permits. The Board of Planning and Appeals, I included in your staff report what they are required to consider in approving this type of a development. At their meeting on January 9th, 2023, they voted unanimously in favor of recommending the proposed subdivision known as the Vineyards. So staff recommends that the City Commission approve the preliminary plat or final engineering plan for the Vineyards subdivision.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Any questions for staff? Seeing none, we'll open this up to public comment. Is there anyone? Yes, ma'am.
Hi there, I am Heidi Heller, 460 Ridgewood Avenue, in the future excellent city of Holly Hill. I'd like to say thank you for a little bit of time here. As mentioned, in all your deliberations, there's all the details that we're trying to iron out. There's some details that I think I remember from BOPA was that the 3 streets that are not pass-through streets from 6th into the property need to be reclaimed or given up by the city, and I don't see that anyplace happening if it's going to come through the commission meeting. Has it already done so by a different route? I was wondering where that went. The second thing would be Cedar Avenue, if that's reclaimed, cuts off some property that's owned by the Department of Environmental Protection that makes it landlocked. So I was wondering, how is that resolved? I don't think that the city normally would intentionally landlock a parcel. And the third thing was the water that you all deliberated upon an hour ago or so, and what more that we have to create for the city to make it better. In BOPA, they were asked what direction the water is going to travel because the land slopes back south to the 3rd. I would like to recommend that if you create retention ponds in your parcel, have the land slope towards the ponds, and then find a secondary way out instead of sloping everything away from the ponds. We still have the pond issue and the interlocking ponds for 6th Street, but I think maybe just a thought, have the water slope towards the ponds or the land slope towards the ponds, and then secondarily out to a more active pumping station. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Heller. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. She had a couple questions in there, and I believe her first question, Mr. Walker, the streets she's talking about, they've been vacated.
That's a different process. That will come before you when it goes through the platting process.
Okay.
So the plat is under review. We've gotten comments back from the surveyor just recently. Staff will add any additional comments that are needed, and then it will go back to the developer for them to make adjustments. But when that comes to you, whatever streets that need to be vacated will be done through the plat process.
Great. And then her next question, which you may not have heard, was, I believe, to do with the lot that's owned by the state. She's saying will be landlocked, but I believe it won't be landlocked.
No, it's not going to be landlocked at all.
The street coming in?
Correct. There's a road that leads directly to it.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, that's on the plat. That road's actually shifting to the west to make access to that piece of property.
Okay. And then the third, I think, was just a suggestion of where the placements of the pond should be downhill instead of upland, but I believe engineering is.
The engineer,
compensating for
yes,
that.
he talked about that back during the rezone stage and how the ponds were all interconnected.
Yep.
And he went into some depth about why it was designed that way and the fact that really they are going to collect water not just from the subdivision, but also from the surrounding area. So he's designed it in the way that it needs to work hydrologically.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Are there any further questions before we ask for a motion? All right, I'll ask for a motion. The floor is open.
Motion to approve?
We have a motion to approve the preliminary plat, final engineering, by Commissioner Johnson, and a second from Vice Mayor Penny. Any discussion needed? All the,
Just realized all the streets are named after wines, says the
yeah,
Vegas.
they are, yeah.
I never.
All of them are. Riesling Way and, all right, is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Now moving to communications, we're going to start with City Manager, Mr. Forte.
I just wanted to make you aware that I did speak with the principal about the capacity, the school capacity and overcrowding issues that we have. I sent a letter to Clay Urban at the county with regard to making sure that they have on record the growth that you're seeing in some of these projects that are coming forward, because it came back to me that they're showing Holly Hill as no growth. And then we were also in touch with the planner for the school board to make sure she was aware of what the growth is that the city has, and some things she has on record, and other things she does not yet, because it's not at that stage. So I've done what I can as far as making them aware of the growth that Holly Hill has coming. And I will probably be reaching out to Sarah Lee Morrissey just for some advice from her, and also looking into what was supposed to be the development plans for when they built that K-8 school and the expansion of the cafeteria and some other items that I don't think were done when that project was completed. That's all that I have.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson.
No comments. Remember me.
Mr. Gutakis. All right. Since I'm trying to swallow a Milky Way, we're going to start with the Vice Mayor tonight, Ms. Penny.
Volusia League of Cities has a presentation called Civics 101, and President Lois Paritsky brought it up, and basically she has a process and a program put together. It's about an hour-long program. Her goal is to have it in every city in the next 18 months. She'll come out and tailor fit a program for our community. If there's any bills that affect us directly, she'd speak about those, just to get people informed about political process, what the Volusia League of Cities does, what the Florida League of Cities does, and help us to get citizens to be more of a conduit between local government and the state. So if it's anything that we're interested in, they're offering that up to us. And speaking of the Volusia League, I have to throw myself under the bus, because I asked the mayor at the last meeting if he'd like me to fill in for him when he took his kids to an 8 o'clock meeting. And I got to the office at 7:45, and my phone started ringing, and I missed the phone call. So, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's like, oh, I'll pinch hit for you, buddy. Well, I struck out. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
I don't know if I said this at the last meeting. I think I said it. I'm on the school advisory committee, and we talk about overcrowding, and I actually spoke to one of our school board representatives recently, and she kindly reminded me that Spruce Creek High School has been overcrowded for 40 years. That it's not just us. And I said, I don't really care about anyone but our school.
4 years or 40 years?
40 years.
40, yeah.
That every school is over capacity.
Build a new one.
And so, you know, I think the solution for our school, and the school advisory board has been taking this up, is to do away with the middle school. The middle school is over capacity. It's almost a prison-like atmosphere when the bell rings and people change classes, where teachers can stand in front of the room and see across the hall and see the traffic going by. but they're so crowded that if there's an altercation between 2 or 3 people, it escalates potentially to 200 or 300 people because they're all right there. And so the cafeteria is geared towards elementary school-sized children. The middle school kids are big. And the solution would be do away with that middle school. The problem would be that a third of the kids would go to Hinson, a third of the kids would go OBMS, and a third of the kids would go to Campbell. And so the thought is that there would be some pushback from the community, which kids go where. And so, but it's a problem. You know, the school board has the ability to set their millage rate. I think they need to step up and build some new schools.
Let me ask you a question, because you're on that board and you're speaking of that. Can you find out how many Holly Hill citizen kids go to our school, both of them, elementary and middle school? Part of the problem is that there is no middle school on Beachside. There were 3 Beachside elementary schools that all filtered, a lot of them filtered into our middle school as well, and elsewhere, Ormond and Daytona, but some of them filtered in. We have a lot of kids that are being put into our school that are outside. I always find it interesting when I go and read or talk there that I say, who lives in Holly Hill? And only half the kids raise their hand. Most of them are living elsewhere, and they're being brought into our community there, and we're overfilled. So exactly like you said, they have their own budget. They need to build more schools, it would seem. Every school, I looked at online, they have the statistics of how much they are over capacity. And actually the west side is a lot worse than the east side. West side, I don't believe that there is a school that is under 100% capacity. All of them are over.
And the problem with our campus is there's no room to expand.
Right, exactly.
Because they put the middle school there.
Yep.
That took up any potential portable room.
Yep.
Kids are meeting outside on picnic tables with counselors. They're meeting outside with counselors on picnic tables.
That is
I don't
unacceptable.
ask Jason if he'll build a little school right there.
So.
Wow.
They said at the SAC committee meeting that they may need some political assistance from our mayor. And I said, I volunteered you. I said, I'm sure he'd be glad to help.
Yeah,
you anyway.
anything I can do, I want to make sure it's right, but, what's right is that, what's wrong is that we're cramming so many kids into one area, and they're still shipping them into
I
it.
think there's only one bus that actually comes to our school. Most everyone else walks or gets a ride there from their parents. We're pretty localized.
Can you find that out?
I'll find out for you.
Yeah, okay. All right.
That's all I got.
And let me know up here, I don't think, well, we will never vote on it, actually, because we'll
Yeah.
vote on school issues.
I'll just get statistics from the principal and you
Yeah.
can email it to us. and
Okay,
we'll have it.
yeah, good idea. All right, sorry I interrupted you, the floor is yours.
No, that's it. That's all I got.
All right, Commissioner Curry.
I don't have anything, sir. Everybody have a good night.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Daniel.
I want to go see my grandma. I feel bad.
Oh, yeah.
I'm kidding.
Commissioner Johnson.
Couple of things, when all these kids who go to school, when they get out of school, we're gonna, someday, if I ever get a CO for Lucia Sports Center, we're gonna have a good place for them to come and practice baseball. And when I am working in the area and I get to go pick up little Dallas from school, which is a good thing to do every once in a while, I usually have to get there an hour early. Otherwise, you have to so far back away from school, you can't even see the school. If you get there an hour early, you get more fun or something. So I bet they're going to be middle school. So they're all like that. And tomorrow is a TPO meeting, if anyone has anything that they want me to say besides working on LPGA and a few other roads that we need really, really bad. Anybody have anything to bring up, but maybe the city manager
Not at this time.
could bring up the TPO?
Mr. Forte, do you have anything you wanted to bring up at this time?
I'm going to go to the meeting in the morning.
You going to?
Okay, you're going?
Okay, yes. That's about all I think I could think of. I just hope we can hurry up and get a approval to get that place opened up. John went by.
I stopped by there
He
today.
went by, looked at it today, said he really.
Looks nice.
He was impressed, right?
I was.
Nothing. we made quite an improvement the last couple of years over the junkyard.
Looks a lot better than the junk that was there, for sure.
And there was other things too that, I remember I think it was last meeting, you brought up something about maybe a volunteer committee for citizens to help them out or something. Somehow think about that a little bit as well. Do some things for citizens, see how far it goes.
Yeah, I'm behind that as well. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. And I'll be fast. I just wanted to thank all the employees for the help in the state of the city and to help craft that with what's been accomplished in '22 and looking forward to do that. So the other thing I wanted to bring up is this Monday we had the mayor's round table. I think they call it elected officials of Volusia or something, but it's basically the mayors, and I serve on that, and they are creating 3 committees. Finally, we're getting committees back, and one of them was about bridges going across, which we don't have that, so obviously we're not going to participate in that. But there are 2. There's one in particular that I really want to serve on, and that is the Nova Canal Task Force, and that is to discuss the Nova Canal, which was built well over 100 years ago. We're one of the main outfalls, one of the only ones, and it affects us greatly. And Senator Rubio and the governor are very interested in helping to look to improve that, and it would help flooding not only in our city but Daytona and Ormond and everywhere along the Nova Canal. It's very much over capacity. It was built for farms back. It does. We have the outfall, so it's important. So I volunteered to serve on that board. So I just wanted to bring it back and see if there's any objection to me serving on that. And I see no objection. And also, I said that someone from this city would serve on the Transportation Committee. Not a lot of information has been put out about that, but if anybody would like to serve on that, I said that we would participate. And also, our city manager is going to participate with us on both of those boards. They want the city managers involved as well. So without any objection, we'll do that. And please give it thought to the Transportation Committee, and I'll get you information whenever information comes out about it. If somebody wants to serve. If nobody wants to step up to do that, I'll step up to do it. So that's all I have to say. And with that, I'll ask if there's any further business.
One thing.
Yes, sir.
I just want to say, I thought the State of the City was one of the best one I've been to in years. The venue was great, the food was great, the speeches, everyone's presentation was just the right length of time.
It was 5 minutes shorter than last year.
It was very well organized. A couple years ago, we went to a place over on the beach side,
Yeah.
the big pomp and circumstance thing, and
Yeah.
you did a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
One other thing,
I appreciate it.
This weekend starts the Speed Week.
Oh, Speed Week's starting. Yep, that's true. That's true, 24-hour.
Hey, Roy, that meeting tomorrow.
All right, with that, is there anything further? All right, seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.